As you can see for this video, I have a friend with me. She is pushing me off my chair because she wants attention. And what Drizzle wants, Drizzle gets. So this is just what I'm dealing with today. At least give me half the chair. Yeah, let's... Hi, beautiful people of the internet. How are you doing today? My name is Jackie. This is Drizzle, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today in this video, I am going to be doing another another episode of what I watched recently. Is this number 6? 7? I don't know. It's been 6 months since I last talked about the TV and film that I've watched, and I have 7 things that I want to review for you all today. This is basically a reoccurring series on my channel where I talk about the TV shows and movies that I watched in the recent months and what I thought of them. I'm thinking that since I assign books on my channel a star rating, maybe I should start trying to implement a rating system for these videos to give you a better idea of how everything that I watch measures up. Usually you see TV shows and films rated on a scale of 1 to 10, so I guess I will try something similar. We'll see how it goes. She just tried to bite me because I wasn't petting her. You can't see it, but look at that. Okay, she's gotten up so I can actually lean comfortably back in my chair. All right, much better for my posture, I'm sure. But first up in this video, it has been so long since I did a what I watched recently video that I never discussed watching season 3 of Medici, which I feel like I watched an eternity ago, but like I said, it's been 6 months since I made one of these videos, so have many months of television and film watching to catch up on here. This series is a Netflix original historical drama that follows the titular family in Renaissance Florence. Season 1 was subtitled Masters of Florence, Season 2 was subtitled The Magnificent, and Season 3, I believe, was subtitled The Beauty and the Power. I talked about the first 2 seasons in my last What I Watched Recently video. However, at the time that I filmed that, I had not watched the entire 3rd season yet. I will say this was my least favorite season out of the 3. The first half of the season primarily follows a military conflict that's going on in Italy, and that to me was just not as interesting because I really enjoy my historical dramas to have more political intrigue and to deal with interpersonal relationships. Military-related things just are not personally interesting to me. The main villain of the first half of the season also was this character who was very cartoonishly cruel. My mom and I jokingly referred to him as Ramsay Bolton Light because he was basically a sadistic, awful person with really no character depth or complexity. I think the storylines in the second half of this season were much more my style and were much more interesting to me. I wish that the entire season had been about this particular plotline instead. I will say though, I really did enjoy this series from start to finish. It's the exact kind of historical drama that I personally like. Is it always historically accurate? No. They took many, many liberties with what actually happened to make the show more soapy and salacious, but personally, that's the kind of historical drama I enjoy. And the way I see it, even the more realistic historical dramas still take a lot of liberties with the actual events, so I don't really mind just embracing the inaccuracy a little bit. I mean, whenever I watch a show about a particular historical figure or era, it always inspires me to do actual research, so I do get to learn the real history, and this is a TV show. It's supposed to be entertaining and fun to watch. You know what I mean? Like I said, this was my least favorite season of the series. I would probably give this season a 7 out of 10, because like I said, the first half of the season was not my favorite, but the last several episodes were really strong. I would have gladly watched more seasons of this show had Netflix made them. I think I would rate the show overall, all 3 seasons together, an 8 out of 10, maybe even a 9. I feel like if I'm being objective, an 8 is more what it deserves, but if I'm talking about my personal enjoyment, probably more like a 9. I said in the last video that I think I preferred season 2 to season 1, and I do think, objectively speaking, season 2 corrected some of the issues that season 1 had. However, season 1 might actually be my favorite anyway. That's the season that I remember the most, and I think Contessina was my favorite character in the entire series. Queen, we stan. Her husband did not deserve her. Also, I guess I owe Dustin Hoffman an apology for mocking using his natural American accent in season 1 of this show, because what I actually learned is that this was deliberate because Netflix thought that Italian accents would be alienating to the American viewing public, so everybody was told to use their natural accent, whether that be an American accent, an English accent. I think some of the Scottish actors tried to sound English, but it was basically nobody was supposed to do an Italian accent because Netflix thought Americans wouldn't understand. In fact, the native Italian speakers that are in this show did all of their lines in English using their natural Italian accent. And then Netflix dubbed over their lines because they thought Americans wouldn't be able to understand them. Imagine you are an Italian actor or actress. You perform these scenes in something that's not your native language, only for Netflix to decide it wasn't good enough and dub you over anyway. That's so mean. That's so mean. So yeah, I still feel like Dustin Hoffman was phoning in his performance, but apparently the accent, he was told not to do an Italian accent. He was told just to speak like he's from New Jersey. So I guess I owe him an apology, but I don't really want to give him an apology because it sounds like he's a pretty not nice person in real life, so that's that. Anyways, but this discussion of accents is going to come up again later in this video because I watched another Netflix original historical drama and the accents in that were also all over the place. So, next I watched the film Ophelia, and I was really excited to watch this film because I've seen so many GIFs of it on Tumblr, and this film is basically a more feminist retelling of Hamlet by William Shakespeare from Ophelia's perspective, and I think Ophelia is such an interesting character in Hamlet. She totally deserved better, and I think Hamlet does have some feminist undertones if you choose to see it that way, and I think it would be so interesting to have a more feminist production of Hamlet that, you know, enhances those subtle undertones with the Ophelia and Gertrude characters. However, I found the script of this film very puzzling, and I feel like instead of choosing to explore the feminist undertones that are already there, the writer of this movie instead just introduced all these weird subplots, like Queen Gertrude having an identical twin sister who's a witch. Yeah, that was weird. It was really weird. And it's been a while since I've seen this movie. I feel like Ophelia's character kind of has a bit of not like the other girls vibes in here, which I really just didn't love. And so this was a really disappointing movie to me because the writer just went in such a weird direction, trying to make Hamlet feminist, but it just wasn't successful, and the storyline was not good, in my opinion. I don't think the acting was bad, I don't think the production values were bad, but the script was just confusing to me. Did not love this. Would probably give it 5 out of 10. Yeah, just very mediocre, in my opinion. I'm sorry. Then I watched another okay movie, which was The Woman in the Window on Netflix with Amy Adams. This is based off the popular book by A.J. Finn, which I never actually read because A.J. Finn's background is, let's say, questionable. Apparently he once lied about having cancer when he didn't, so he doesn't sound like he's a great human being. Even though this was a very popular book, I never read it. I just never really felt the desire. I did know what the twist was because I think I listened to somebody's spoilery review knowing that I was never going to read the book. But I decided that I would watch the film adaptation because I needed something to watch on movie night with my mom, and the trailer looked promising enough. It stars Amy Adams, and it was directed by Joe Wright, who is the director of one of my all-time favorite films, Pride and Prejudice. I don't know if you can find any two movies as tonally different as Pride and Prejudice and The Woman in the Window, but directed by the same guy. I thought this movie was good. I mean, it was entertaining enough for that one movie night. I don't think it was particularly memorable in any way, and my mom, who didn't know the twist, the reveal of who the killer was, found it a little overwhelming. I think there was an earlier twist in this movie that was just so much better than the later twist. I did not know that was coming, and so I was genuinely surprised when I thought that was a well-executed twist. The ending also involves a chase scene, which was sometimes unintentionally comical, to be honest. Overall, I guess I would give this 6 out of 10. It was good, but it lacked true greatness. Next up, I watched all 3 seasons of Victoria. This is a masterpiece PBS series that I have wanted to watch for years, but I missed season 1 when it originally aired, and it's kind of hard to find a masterpiece PBS show if you don't watch it when it first comes out, because they really don't stay on demand for that long, and I didn't want to have to pay to watch it, to be honest. However, you can watch the entire series on Amazon Prime Video now for free. It's included with a subscription, so I finally got to see this show. This is a historical fiction series that follows the reign of Queen Victoria. The series stars Jenna Coleman as the title character, and I think this is an all-around well-acted and well-produced show. I think it's very on par with The Crown, so if you like one, I think you might like the other. I think the issue, if you would call it that, I have with Victoria is very similar to how I feel about The Crown, where there are some episodes that are just amazing and other episodes that just particularly don't interest me. And even though this is a more realistic historical drama, it still takes liberties, it changes the ages of historical figures, it creates characters who never existed, and it does make up a lot of stuff. I also think this show depicts Victoria as a better person and definitely a better mother than she actually was. Queen Victoria really didn't like kids that much. She was very strict and demanding with her children, and honestly, I don't think she liked being a mother very much. Some historians think maybe she suffered from what we would now call postpartum depression after giving birth to some of her children, which could have affected her ability to bond with them. She definitely was not a very affectionate parent. I read that one of her daughters, I think maybe it was Alice, as an adult wrote to her mother talking about her grief at one of her children dying. And Victoria really didn't offer her daughter any sympathy after this tragedy that had just happened to her, and told her daughter, well, you should feel lucky because the pain of losing a child can never compare to the pain of losing one's husband, which just really stuck with me. Imagine telling your mother, Mom, my child has died and I am so grief-stricken, I don't know what to do. And your mom basically saying to you, well, you know, if you died, it wouldn't hurt me as much as it hurt to lose your father. Like, not helpful, not helpful. That's so harsh. This series also does not have any kind of finality in the ending. It sort of just ends. When I started watching this over the summer, my understanding was that there was going to be a season 4, and then after I started binge watching this, Masterpiece PBS basically said, the show's not cancelled, but we have no plans to make another season right now. Maybe someday. So the show's not technically cancelled, but not technically renewed either. Maybe there'll be another season. Maybe there won't. It's basically just in television limbo. Overall, this was a solid series. For the most part, I enjoyed it. Not one of my new favorites, but I would give it probably a 7 out of 10 overall. Next up, I watched the Netflix docudrama, The Last Czars, and this is where the accent discussion is going to come up again because this is a docudrama that deals with the last of the Romanovs and their eventual assassination after their fall from grace. I don't think there was, as far as I can recall, I don't think there was a single person here who was doing an authentic Russian accent. Again, I'm assuming it's because Netflix evidently thinks that Americans aren't going to understand any accent that isn't derived from an English-speaking country. So everybody is supposed to be Russian, but for the most part they all sound British. Like I said, this is a docudrama, so we have historians and experts discussing the Romanovs, their catastrophic fall, and then we also have dramatic reenactments with actors playing the various characters, and the writers tried to shoehorn in so many sex scenes. There were even a couple orgies. I can't believe I just said the word orgy, but it was too much for me. I mean, maybe a sex scene here or there, but I felt like there was one shoehorned in basically every episode, and it was uncomfy. I did not like that. I enjoyed hearing from the various historians. There was one historian who talked in this docudrama who actually has a book on the entire Romanov dynasty, like 300 years of Romanov rulers, and I did add that book to my TBR after seeing him on this docudrama because that book to me sounds so interesting. I think the problem that I had with this was the writing and some of the choices that were made. I do not know that much about the Romanovs, and pretty much everything I do know is about Tsar Nicholas and his wife and his children. I don't know about the earlier generations, and unfortunately, I don't think I learned much about Nicholas and Alex and their children. In this, I really wanted to learn more. I kind of felt like it was just telling me things that I already knew for the most part. Also, what really annoyed me about this series is that we have a framing device in the series, which is an acted out portion that takes place years after the assassination of the family, and we have a former tutor to the children who is sent to identify a woman who claims to be Anastasia, and that annoyed me a lot. The myth of Anastasia has been very prevalent. There is a theory that perhaps she survived somehow. There were many women over the years, such as Anna Anderson, who claimed that they were her, and I know that this is a very popular story, and I can understand why a lot of people want to believe this, because even though Nicholas was not a good ruler, it's still not right that this family, which included children, were all murdered. And I think a lot of people want to believe that maybe one of these children did get to live and did get to have the life that they were so cruelly denied. However, factually, that never happened. Nobody escaped. And the fact that the series spent so much time indulging this myth to the detriment of the other historical figures being covered was, in my opinion, very disappointing, because Nicholas and Alexandra also had other daughters, Tatiana and Olga and Maria, and I feel like they were barely developed at all throughout the series. I didn't learn more about them because the show wanted to indulge the myth of Anastasia surviving so much, and that really annoyed me, because as nice a story as it is, it's not the truth. I don't know if I articulated that properly. Hopefully you understand what I'm trying to say. Overall, The Last Czars was okay, but I think it prioritized drama over the documentary part a lot of the times, and overall I would give this series a 5 out of 10. Next, I watched Only Murders in the Building on Hulu, and this is a TV show that is sort of a satirical comedy take on true crime podcasts, and personally, I enjoy true crime. I love watching true crime YouTube videos, and though this was satirizing that, it also did deliver an interesting mystery plot at the same time. Basically, the series follows Steve Martin, Selena Gomez, and Martin Short, who are playing 3 characters that all live in the same New York apartment building, and another resident of their building dies, supposedly by suicide. However, they believe that he was actually murdered, and they decided they're going to create their own true crime podcast to solve this murder of a fellow building resident, even though none of them are really well equipped to solve a murder. And overall, I did like the show. Generally, I prefer watching drama shows to comedies, so some of the jokes just didn't entirely land for me, but maybe that's just because I don't have a sense of humor. I think, though, one of the reasons I did like this show is that even though it's a satire of true crime, it did actually develop a interesting murder mystery plotline, and I was excited to see what was going to happen, who actually did kill Tim Kono. And I did not have the killer figured out until the episode before it was revealed. So even though this is a comedy series, I think it actually did deliver on the mystery element very well. There will be a season 2 of this, and season 1 ended on a major cliffhanger that's going to propel us into season 2. So I'm excited to see where the next season of the show is going to go. I will keep watching it. Overall, I would give Only Murders a rating of 7 out of 10. Finally, the most recent show that I watched. I watched this because my mom watched it, and so then she encouraged me to watch it, and it was really good at first, and then the ending was so bad. I'm talking about Clickbait, the Netflix miniseries, and so clickbait, by definition, is when you see an article or a YouTube video that has a eye-catching title, and then when you actually read the article or watch the video, they tricked you and they really fail to deliver. And I feel like that's what this show did. This show actually clickbaited me because it was so intriguing, the premise was so good, and then the ending sucked and just failed to deliver on all fronts. This is a mystery miniseries where a husband and father disappears, and then a video of him appears online. In the video, he is accused of abusing and killing women, and it says in the video, when the video gets 5 million views, he is going to die. And throughout episodes of the series, we follow the perspective of different people connected to Nick's case, such as his sister, his wife, his son, the detective, and some other characters that I can't talk to you about because that would spoil how things unfold. And I thought that the premise of this show was so incredibly interesting, and I was interested in watching the show and formulating my own theory about what really happened. I watched, I think, 4, 5 episodes in one day because I was so engrossed in what was happening. Now, don't get me wrong, the first 7 out of 8 episodes were not perfect. I think not the main cast, but some of the side cast, the minor characters, I was having a hard time theorizing because there would be a minor character and I would think to myself, okay, are they lying right now or can this person just not act? And usually the answer was the latter. There were some minor characters where the person playing them just really could not deliver their lines with conviction. And again, some things were just way too overdramatic. This also had a chase scene in it that was meant to be played straight, but it was so ridiculous. I actually was laughing out loud watching this chase scene in this series. Unintentional comedy at its finest. It was hilarious. It wasn't meant to be hilarious, but it was. But despite the fact that it was sometimes ridiculous and some of the casting was not great, overall I was very interested in this series for 7 episodes. I was invested. I wanted to know what happened. I wanted to see how everything was going to tie together in the end. And since episode 1, I had a theory that I was attached to. I was convinced that I was right, that this person was the one who did it, and as I kept watching the episodes, I kept picking up on more and more things that further convinced me that I was right. I was ranting and raving to my mom about this. I was so sure I was right. I was like, I solved it. I did it. I should quit my job and become a detective because I can solve crimes, all right? I am a genius. Then we got to the last episode. And what actually happened made 0 sense. 0 sense at all. So, if you watched Clickbait, let me know in the comments and tell me, did you predict who done it? And if you say you did, I say you're a liar because the actual ending did not make any sense. I really don't think it was foreshadowed in any way, and in my opinion, it was an ending that was impossible to guess because it relied on plot elements that made no logical sense, and that's why I feel like this show clickbaited me, because it was a mystery show that gave me a mystery that was impossible to solve. Like, I just feel like there's no way you could have guessed this. Like, there's no way. If you go into the comments and tell me you guessed this ending, I won't believe you. I swear I won't. I don't think anyone could have guessed this. And in order for this ending to work, certain characters had to do certain things that make no logical sense. I don't believe somebody would have actually acted that way. And so I just found it immensely, immensely frustrating. I would give the first 7 episodes of this miniseries maybe a 7, maybe even an 8 out of 10, because while they weren't perfect, I was thoroughly entertained and engaged. The last episode, however, literally 1 out of 10. It actually made me angry. I was genuinely upset because the ending was so bad. So overall, I think a 6 out of 10 for this series is more than fair. A lot of it was good, but the ending was just awful. It was awful. So guys, that's what I've watched in the past 6 months. Let me know in the comment section, have you watched any of these TV shows or movies that I watched? If you tell me you predicted the ending of Clickbait, I don't believe you. I would not believe you. I still think my theory was better than what actually happened. Please give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more from me. I post new videos every single Wednesday. My social media links are down below if you want to follow me on Tumblr, Instagram, or be my friend on Goodreads. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a magical rest of your day. Bye, and I'll see you in the next video.